Joining us right now on the show is Brian Bouffard. He's a criminal defense lawyer, former Navy JAG lieutenant commander, who works with the military on sexual assault cases around the globe, and also with stolen valor. There was a story that we talked about on Monday after the long holiday shopping weekend. This video went viral on Friday of this guy impersonating a hero who's wearing a soldier's uniform, pretending to be a U.S. military member, to get discounts in the malls where he was walking around. And a real hero, a real member of the military, started videotaping him and confronted him. And that video is on my blog. Brian, did you see that video when it went around on social media over the weekend?
Yeah, I sure did. And hey, before we get started, I got to say, go TCU Horned Frogs.
Nice. You know, I'm glad to see them in, and I'm one of the people who thinks that they deserve to be in instead of Baylor.
I'm a TCU grad, so yeah, I'll be there this weekend for Iowa State.
Well, it's entirely possible that Alabama and TCU could play in the first round.
It'd be pretty fantastic.
So this video that went viral over the weekend, it's still up. It's still getting a lot of views on our website, I know, and people have shared it as we talk about the military quite frequently here on the show and on this station. What did you think when you saw this video for the first time?
Well, this one's pretty interesting because, as you may know, the stolen valor law changed after the Supreme Court held that the first version of it was basically overbroad. So what the federal government then did, and President Obama signed it into law, is the current version of stolen valor, which says if you wear certain specific uniform items or medals that indicate combat service, and it lists them out in the statute, and if you have the intent to gain some kind of a benefit by wearing them, assuming you have not earned them, of course, then you're committing a federal misdemeanor. And so when we look at this case, we've got a guy who certainly does appear not to have earned the combat infantryman badge. That you said he had 3 of them, which, you know, in and of itself is a little bit ridiculous, wearing them on his uniform like that. But he's out at the mall. You know, retailers often give discounts to military. He's out there wearing the Army combat uniform. So it looks like if they can even just find one shopkeeper who said, yeah, you know, he asked if we had a military discount and we gave him the 10% off or whatever, it seems to me that they've got a pretty good case to prosecute this guy, and I think that's what they're considering doing.
Now, does there need to be a financial benefit to impersonating a military member, or could it just be the benefit of getting respect and appreciation from the community, which, you know, has no inherent value, but I know I make a point of trying to thank members of the military that I see in public, or at least giving you know, a nod and a wave if I run across somebody.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. The statute says, I believe the words are money, anything, or any other benefit. Now, I agree with you that just, you know, the respect and regard of people and, you know, having people thank you for your service, I mean, that's very nice and pretty kind of disgusting if you haven't actually earned that. So do I think that would be enough, though, to trigger a criminal prosecution? Probably not. And there may be, you know, the government may ultimately bring a case with just that fact, and then, you know, we would know through the appellate process whether or not the statute does include just, you know, general respect from people. But right now I would say it needs to be more tangible than that.
It's kind of interesting, too. One of the television stations tracked this guy down in Philadelphia, and somebody with the same name apparently faced a prior charge in 2003 of impersonating a public servant.
Really? Yeah, I hadn't heard that. But, you know, I have kind of mixed feelings about these people. You know, I'm a veteran, but I'm not a combat veteran, although I certainly know many combat veterans, but I don't plan to be one because I'm not one. And it's difficult to understand the people who have in fact served, but still sometimes feel the need to embellish their service. And sometimes you see that, but more often I think it's just people who are just kind of sad human beings that, you know, feel the need to trade off other people's accomplishments.
Well, even not serving in combat, I think you, as a member of the armed forces, deserve an amount of gratitude and respect from those of us who have not served, because you did make that sacrifice of putting your life on hold for however many years in service to the country.
Well, I appreciate that, and I you know, I mean, the point I was trying to make was that just, you know, if you've served, no matter where you've served or how you've served, just, you know, just own it. Just be proud of that. And And if you haven't done that, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but you shouldn't just go around saying that you've done something like that you haven't done.
How bad a problem is military impersonation? How many instances of stolen valor do you discover on an annual basis?
I personally really don't. I've never run into it in my criminal practice, either military or civilian. Certainly in my military practice, we really never see situations where somebody on active duty is being prosecuted for wearing something that he or she didn't deserve. I mean, that's basically unheard of among active duty folks. And I've just, kind of a couple of occasions that I see on the media, but I don't think any more specialized knowledge about that than anyone else does.
I know that you do a lot of work with sexual assault cases around the globe, and especially in the military. A couple of interesting stories today. I know you haven't seen this one that's literally just coming across this afternoon about a naval investigation which claims some women serving aboard submarines in the U.S. military and the U.S. Navy have been filmed showering aboard submarines. And the other story today that's getting a lot of attention on social media, not directly involving the military, but about the University of Virginia, story that the Rolling Stone has backed off of, accusing some members of the University of Virginia of sexual assault there. They're backing off their story a little bit. But we hear stories of rape and sexual misconduct in the military on seemingly a regular basis. Is the problem escalating, or have there been actions taken to try to stifle that problem in the service?
Well, I don't want to say something that's not exactly what I mean here. You'll see what I mean in a moment. But I hesitate to call it a problem. And when I say that, I don't mean that sexual assault is not a problem. Clearly, sexual assault is a problem, and it's a huge problem. What I differ with, though, is the attitude of a lot of people on Capitol Hill and other lawmakers who think that there's something endemic to the military that makes it somehow more of a problem, or you're more likely to be assaulted in the military. And those are the statistics, frankly, that I would need to see, and I don't see them. I don't see the statistics that have parsed out the difference between military men and women on one hand and just, people of similar age and other demographics, like, for example, college students.
As a percentage of the general population versus a percentage of the military population, it's probably lower, if I had to guess.
Well, it might be, or it might not be. So much of the problem with this issue is there's just a lot of false data out there, and a lot of false data, frankly, that's been pushed by the senior leadership. And, my concern as somebody who takes very seriously the fact that I rose my right hand and I swore to uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution is a document with words, and it actually says things, and it actually means things. And one of those things that it means is that, you have a right to a trial. You have a right to due process. And there's a push right now that basically boils down to, if somebody claims to be a victim, you've got to believe them, and they are a victim and all that. It's just simply not the case. You have to do an unbiased investigation to get to that point.
Well, and not to drag you into other discussions, but I think we're seeing that in national media the last couple of weeks between Ferguson, Eric Garner in New York City, and now in Phoenix as well. So that's certainly something to keep in mind, that the facts need to be looked at closely before coming to a conclusion. Brian, thanks so much for your time. Your websites are jagdefender.com and Bouffard Law, Bouffard law.com. I appreciate your time, Brian.
Anytime. Thanks. Take care.